Hello, my fellow video gaming minions. Welcome back to another vlog. Goodness me, it's been a while since I've done one of these. Obviously I've been busy and whatnot, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into that just now. That's for another video, for another specific time. Now, good old question. I'm happy to be back on the vlogging as you do. Today's good question is do you get your money's worth out of modern gaming or retro gaming? It's not something that's a really rare question that hasn't been asked before, but I wouldn't mind, just expressing where I come from on this particular question. Well, to be frank and quite honestly to the point, I get my money's worth out of retro gaming, to be honest with you. I can actually say that because, I get my money's worth out of retro gaming because of its replay value, to be honest. Oh, hang on, Dominus falling over. Excuse me for a second. I hate interruptions when I'm doing a video. Don't want that falling over. Yeesh. No, thank you so much. Yeah, so I get my more money's value out of retro gaming, to be honest, because of the replay value, to be honest, and the fact that I'm now, for a few years now, I've been a retro collector, to be honest, and collecting all these retro video games. Hunting for these video games absolutely has been worth it, especially when it's considered the price of them. But what do I mean by the replay value? Well, when I, buy a retro game or a few retro games from a third-party shop somewhere that, would actually sell these retro games, like the N64, Atari, SNES, Mega Drive, etc., Vectrex, Commodore, I do find that it takes me a while to complete the games. And even though I sort of missed out on games which I've never even played before, I feel like that's adding in another new experience as well. You can put that in modern games as well, and play games you haven't had the chance of playing. But this is years ago. The same principle still sort of applies in the end. But there's something about going back to the past and experiencing games what other games have played and sort of moved on from, and you want to actually be like, do you know what? I'm going to put this in and see what it's like and see how it was back in the day. For its time, if it was good or not. So you do get that sort of sense of experience when, if you find you get your money's worth from the retro gaming line. If you're into retro gaming, of course, but you can still apply that to modern gaming. Also, the time it takes to complete video games. Yes, on that particular subject, I find that with retro games, it's taken me somewhat for a few games, years to complete. Other games, weeks and months, to be honest. Now, the games in modern times, I find that you buy a video game, it takes a few hours to complete. Then you can take it back to the shop, part exchange it, or sell it, or just give it to a friend, or whatever. You complete video games quite quicker these days, so they actually have to up the game to a really high, difficulty in order for you to not complete it, as it were. I've not played the game just yet, but I heard that, was it Dark Souls or Demon Souls? One of the two. One of them's a dungeon crawler, I think. And the fact is, I heard that the difficulty is so difficult anyway. See, there's only very rare on modern games do I find games that are taking ages to complete. But with a lot of retro gaming, I find it takes, with a whole lot of games, probably more than half of the library, it's going to take me years or quite a long time to complete on a certain game. So I find I still get my money's worth out of the retro game if it takes that long for me to complete, rather than a game in modern times, which will soon be retro soon, but keep with it. In modern era, like the PS3, Xbox 360 or Xbox One, PS4, whatever, I find that I hear a lot of people complaining of how short the games are, of how quickly you can actually complete it and whatnot. Many games I've heard my mates saying they just bought the game, a few hours down the line they've already completed it. I forgot what game that it was, but any game can come to mind. And I remember playing Halo 3, I completed that within just a few days. I felt like, okay, what am I meant to do now? Type of thing. I remember that, buying Halo 3, and I just completed it that quick. I was a bit disappointed. So with retro gaming, I hardly get disappointed because of the fact of how long they can take to complete. So I find I do get my money's worth there. I'd much rather buy a game that's going to take me ages to complete, rather than one that is going to make me feel like that was rather easy. Now what? Because you can easily just take it back to the shop within the same week if you're actually purchasing it. So I feel like I've wasted a bit of money there. So I might as well just part exchange for another game or sell it to earn a bit of cash and just buy something else, to be honest. So in terms of replay value and times it takes to complete a certain game, the retro gaming does hold it higher to modern gaming. Modern games here, retro gaming is higher up here. In terms of well skated balance. Not like as if modern games holding more gravity. It's holding more gravity in the sense I don't really want to actually play any modern games because of the fact that I don't really find I get my money's worth out of a lot of them. What else? So yeah, another thing as well. Do I find I get my money's worth out of certain systems compared to modern and retro? The systems I find I do get my money's worth is probably the GameCube, the N64, SNES Mega Drive, the Xbox, the PS2, the PS1, and what's that NES? And my Dreamcast, of course. The systems I actually own at the moment, and I own a PS3 as well. But I find that I get my money's worth out of the old systems because of the variety of different video games. When you look at the Nintendo Wii, when you compare it to the other Nintendo video game consoles, it doesn't seem like it's Nintendo, does it? I mean, think of the SNES. Look at the amazing Nintendo games that was on that. The N64, not very much a cup of tea console for everyone, but it still had its fantastic games. The Nintendo GameCube, whole bunch of awesomeness. Then the Wii came out, and you think of only certain titles, you see. So I don't really feel like I got my money's worth with the Wii. The only thing I liked about the Wii mostly was the online was for free. You can actually download some of the old games from the different consoles, from the virtual shopping part, I think it was. But the thing is, I can play these like the N64, SNES, no problem. I get my money's worth totally because of the massive variety of games that they have. So the library is amazing on these old consoles, especially the GameCube. I think the very first game I played on the GameCube was actually Super Smash Bros. Melee, and I was hooked and I really wanted this system. I found that that game console's joypad to be really, really unique and somewhat strange, especially when you played a lot of the PS1 and the Dreamcast and the N64 control pads. I thought, well, hang on, this is a bit weirdly designed. What's going on here? As you do, it was a new console. I like the fact it was different as well in terms of its joypad, so that was really interesting. So I find I get my money's worth out of these old retro systems now more than the modern systems because, if I'm honest, I'm not really interested or keen to get the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4, to be honest, because there's only probably just about less than 10 games I'll be interested in playing. Whereas these other consoles, they've got a whole lot more. I know it's that sort of thing where you got to give the PS4 more time and stuff. But the thing is, I'll probably only play it for just only a few amount of games, like DC Universe, for example, the Batman games, and probably a few racings. Probably one or two first-person shooters, actions, things like that. Adventure, Assassin's Creed games. That's probably about it, to be honest. With these other systems, I can say, yeah, I want to play more than 99%, or more than 95% of the library on the different titles that they've actually got out. So I find that I get my money's worth out of more of the retro gaming systems. As you can see where I'm coming from there, more than the modern systems. But given a little bit more time, but I still prefer the retro gaming systems. Did I mention my PS1? I should have mentioned my PS1. Yeah, love it to bits, to be honest. Absolutely. Also, not to mention the gaming price and things, but that's sort of irrelevant. But in case you want to buy games, what do you find you get your money's worth out? Because I have actually purchased the majority of my games for about 10 to 20 pence on my PlayStation 1. The majority of my games in the Dreamcast, just a couple of quid. Now bear in mind these are retro and they don't being sold anymore, so obviously the price is going to go down in certain games, but the rare ones will cost quite a bomb. But with modern games, I never buy modern games, gaming when they're released anyway, so I find that completely irrelevant and sort of what's the point type of thing. I feel like I'm wasting money then in case I don't like the game. So I usually play the demos or go on YouTube to watch some videos and stuff. But I going with this, the gaming price. The gaming price, I find, well, how much would I pay for a game? at max probably 20 quid, to be honest with you. I never go over 20. Not anymore, at least. I think the closest game I bought to on release was actually Everything or Nothing for the PlayStation 2, and the least amount of money I paid for a game, 10 pence, is probably on my Dreamcast or on my PlayStation 1. But I don't want to overdo this video. I can go into great detail about other things, but yeah, what do you find? You get your money's worth out of modern gaming or retro gaming? Please let me know in a video response or comment in the comment section below. I am Dr. Virtual, the Retroholic, and may retro gaming live on, my fellow video gaming minions.